Well, the federal and Northern Territory governments are in discussion about a deal that would see the Port of Darwin return to Australian hands. Matt Cunningham is live in Darwin for us. Matt, this has always been a controversial deal. So what's driving this push to take the port back, and is a deal any closer?
Well, I think a deal's pretty close, to be honest, Laura. As to what's driving it, well, I think there's a couple of things. One is the security concerns, the changing situation with our relationship in China and concerns around the fact that our only deep water port in Northern Australia has been leased to a Chinese company for 99 years. I think there's also a little bit of politics going on here. Of course, we're heading into a federal election campaign. The seat of Solomon, which takes in the Greater Darwin area, is held by Labor, but there is some concern that the Country Liberal Party might be a chance to win that one back at the election. So I think for Labor, this looks like a good deal for them if they can get on the front foot and say, well, we're going to undo the mess that was created by the Country Liberal Party 10 years ago. Of course, that is when the Port of Darwin was leased by the former Giles CLP government, approved by a former coalition government as well. But it is a deal that has caused rankles all the way to Washington. Now, I caught up at the weekend with Luke Gosling, who is the Solomon MP. My understanding is that the federal and Northern Territory governments have been in discussions since December about how they might be able to take back that port. I also understand that LandBridge would be willing to potentially sell the port back, but they have at the moment an asking price of about $1.3 billion, which is about $800 million more than they paid for that lease in the first place.
And I'm meeting with them to have further discussions about their interest in selling the port this week, get a bit real about where the price point would be. And hopefully that's a fruitful discussion, because I think we can all have a win-win here. They can get a good return on their investment, return the port to Australian hands, probably a mix of federal government funds and institutional investors, but Australian, and we can put the investment into the port that we need. We can return that port to Australian hands where it always should be, and we can start to make the most of our strategic position in the Indo-Pacific.
Luke Gosling and others have also raised questions about whether LandBridge could be in breach of its own contract. As we reported late last year, Laura, there was an annual report that said that the Darwin Port was a going concern for LandBridge. That report revealed that there was a $110 million bond that was overdue and outstanding with LandBridge's parent company. Bill Yan is the Northern Territory Treasurer, and he says that since that report came out, the Territory government has been having discussions with the federal government about where to go with the Port of Darwin.
Once we found out that there's issues around that breach of a bond, and $110 million bond, and what that actually means as far as debt, solvency and all sorts of other things going. So I've been in discussion with the federal government since December last year on this, and the federal government are actually working with us on those issues around the port.
Interesting discussions at an interesting time, Laura. As you heard Luke Gosling say there, he is meeting with the Port of Darwin this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some kind of announcement in the very near future.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Really appreciate the update. We'll see you soon.